Good day everyone. So in my recent video I sort of showcased Kokomi with and without Yun Jin's C6. So Yun Jin C6 obviously gives us attack speed, and then her ultimate gives us added damage. And in that video I sort of showcased how you can get like 14 and 15k numbers as opposed to getting like your normal 12 and 11k sort of numbers from Kokomi. So of course this is all about what does Yun Jin actually add, and a lot of people in the comments and in the previous video said, well, it's not much of a buff, 12 to 14k, what's that? And let us look at the actual maths, because I think people don't understand this. A lot of these things are invisible until you get into the actual maths. So what you'll see is, I'm not counting the jellyfish or the ocean hued clam damage here, so we're just going to disregard those because those will always be constant. And what you can see on screen is Kokomi, just on her own, is doing about 242k damage. This is on my account, so your account will obviously vary. And then with Yun Jin C6 this is 320k, so the difference is about 81k over 10 seconds, and that is roughly about 33.8% increase. And this could vary, of course. This varies from whether you're just standing still and dishing out your damage, whether you have to dodge a bit. So unlike Kaching mains and all these other theory crafters that have these beautiful spreadsheets with the max damage calculations, we actually take these things practically. So that's why I give you like a bit of like a range, 30 to 40%, because this does depend. It depends on account strength, it depends on a lot of things. But in my current case with talent level 9 and with a current defense of 2100, this is sort of the numbers I'm looking at, and obviously this can get better. So what a lot of people don't realize about Yun Jin is the fact that there are other things you also need to understand, and this applies equally whether you've got a C0 or a C6 Kokomi. So faster attack speed from Yun Jin means more heals, which, especially if you've got a C0 Kokomi, means more ocean hued clam damage. Also, what it means is if you've got a C1 Kokomi, you don't need to just like miss out your third dash. You can do the entire full string combo, because your flat damage is also coming out faster, and it is better than just the into jump cancel that you can do. So that's just for the more technical Kokomi players. But the cool thing about Yun Jin is all the aspects of Kokomi are boosted, not just her damage. Your ability to tank, to deal damage, and to heal has been increased with Yun Jin, and this is what people don't realize. It's not just the damage that's being increased, it's the fact that you can tank more because you're healing more, and that by healing more you're also doing more damage, and it's just insane. Which means, and also with the crystallized reactions from Yun Jin, less time, because you've got a shield, you've got less time to dodge, which gives you more stamina, and then you can do more dodging, etc, etc. Now, if you've got a VV Shred, Viridescent Venerous set, so let's say you've got a Sucrose or a Kazuha boosting your damage, then Yun Jin's contribution is also multiplied by this. So it's also added through Kokomi's hydro damage percentage bonus. So if you've got Kazuha, that gives you a very nice like 30 to 40% hydro damage bonus, and if you're like me, you've only got Sucrose, then at least you can still use the VV Shred, and you also get like an extra bit of like 20-15% hydro damage bonus, which is really awesome. So these are the things people don't talk about. Everyone's just like, yeah, I see 12k now, 14k, therefore not worth it. And it's like, how do people miss these things? How do you not think about the game? And the other thing that people don't consider, Yun Jin gives every single character on the team 30 stacks. Kokomi is one of the few characters that can realistically burn through all those stacks. And in fact, I think we've got about 23, 24 sort of stacks from Yun Jin that we used here. And of course, if we now add even more attack speed through some other means or methods, then we could realistically get through all 30 stacks, which would just be insane as well. And the other nice thing is Kokomi's ult also then very conveniently lines up with Yun Jin's ultimate duration. It works out really well. The other thing is Kokomi's not tied to mono teams, and she's also not tied to just a freeze team. I think the very Taser and Tsukokomon and other variations sort of prove it. So if you are on Abyss floor 12 and all the second halves, it might be good to swap out Rosaria from the Kokomi banner comp to Yun Jin. For freezable enemies, you could instead swap out your Xingqiu, but I'm still experimenting, so there's lots of cool other things that we can do. We could run something like Sucro's Official Taser with Kokomi Yunjin, and of course this will maximize Yunjin's passive, which means Kokomi's going to do even more damage, which is really awesome. And then obviously, if Kokomi's ultimate expires, or if you want to swap off early, you can still get Yunjin to sort of apply to Sucro's autos, which is really, really cool. So the entire point that I want to make is, don't believe people on the internet. Things are not just, it's not just Shenny does double the damage that Kazuha does, but only for 1 second. Don't listen to that nonsense. Don't listen to the Yunjin nonsense. Understand the game, the mechanics, the fundamentals, and be very careful of theory crafters as well, because they're going to come up with a set or like a couple of solutions that work fine on paper, but when it comes to actually getting in battle, to actually dodging, understanding that the enemies are not just going to stand still, that you need to maneuver, manage your cooldowns, you need to dodge, all these sorts of things, then you sort of start to build up like a realistic understanding of what the game is and how things work, what doesn't work. And obviously, I'm not someone that's just all about maximum damage. For me, it's all about getting well-rounded, well-balanced teams that can consistently carry you through things, unlike just stacking a bunch of food buffs, Venet, Kazuha, and then doing big damage showcases and then putting it on YouTube, and everyone's like, oh my god, how amazing. Like, I mean, honestly, let's just be realistic and get a good solution. And the last thing is, of course, a lot of people might say, well, this is C6 Yunjin, I'm never going to get her. Well, here's a question: do you have C6 Barbara? Answer is yes, especially if you've been playing since day one. In a year's time, will you have C6 Yunjin? Yes, you will. Do you get a free Yunjin in the next coming month? Yes, you can. So this idea that I don't have it right now, therefore it's not right now applicable to me, is also short-sighted. Think of the future. There's plenty of opportunities for you to get Kokomi on a rerun, get 1 or 2 constellations. You will get Yunjin with time. You'll get most of the 4 stars at C6 over time. Just because it's not applicable to you right now doesn't mean you can dismiss its worth. So please think about all of these things. I love Yunjin. I didn't think a lot about her, but having seen what she does and how much fun she is actually to play, the beautiful animations, I think she's a pretty cool character.